Hi everybody, I'm Eagle Mike, and I'm going to do a little bit of Carb 101 for you with my friend Bob, Thumper Bob, doing a little video action here. So we'll go over the CVK40 Carb and how to take it apart, put the KLX jet kit in it, and show you how it works to a limited degree. We could write a book on that. And so we'll start by showing you all the parts that come with the various stuff I sell. So this right here is the Carb Screw Upgrade Kit, and it makes your life better, and you'll see why when we go to take this one apart. This is a pilot jet. The stock one is a number 40. This is a 42. Improves off-idle response. These other parts are what come right here. This is your KLX needle. This is the 3 main jets that come in the kit. 2 stainless thin washers for fine adjustment. This goes on top of the E-clip always to simulate the head of the original needle. And this is a spare E-clip, okay? So now we're going to get started. And by the way, the pilot jet is separate from the kit. This is the KLX jet kit here. This is the 42 pilot. This Carb Screw Upgrade. So these screws on the bottom originally are GIS, which is a Japanese version of Phillips, and it's not exactly a Phillips. So these screws are pretty soft and they strip easy. And so you can see I'm really pressing down on those suckers to get them out because they're really stuck. And I don't want to have to drill them out. We can, like this one over here, looks like we might have to get a pair of vice grips on it to get it started. Yep. So this is your emergency tool right here. We might have to do this again. Okay, I think we got it going loose. Okay, so now we can take the bowl off. Now this one's pretty crusty. What ordinarily, if we weren't just doing a demo, if we were going to put it on a bike, we'd run this in an ultrasonic cleaner for probably an hour total to try and get it clean. Now one thing you want to watch out for is when you're working on the carb, it's easy for this little float pin to, if you tilt the carb, the float pin can fall out and get lost. So you don't want to do that. And you can see there's quite a bit of crust on this main jet. Actually, might need a bigger screwdriver for this. Let's see. Yep. Okay, we want to pause it for a second. Okay, so we got a bigger screwdriver and get this crusty old main jet out of here. Now, one thing that we're lucky here, this came out without the tube above it. A lot of times when you take the main jet out, this tube right here comes out. And for this particular carb, if we were going to put it on a bike right away again, we would unscrew this and soak it in an ultrasonic cleaner. You see that's really, really crusty. And then above this, in here, you see around the needle, you see that tube right here. Sometimes when people take this tube out, that tube falls out and it rolls somewhere and gets lost. So you want to watch out for losing that thing, okay? And this carb, we don't have to worry about it because it's so filthy, it's not going to fall out. In fact, it's so filthy, you can see crust built up right there. So this carb sat with gas in it for a long time. So again, this is just showing you how to install the parts. I'm not showing you how to clean the carburetor. So we would put that in there, and we would put the appropriate main jet in there, and I email you instructions when you order this. So you just screw your main jet in there. And then we put our bowl back on. Oh, nope, forgot one thing. Our idle mixture jet, low speed jet, is down in this tube. And sometimes these are really stuck. And so you have to use a screwdriver that fits really well. And this is a good quality screwdriver, so if you strip that, you're never going to get it out. So don't strip it. So you take out your stock number 40 and then put your new and improved number 42 in there and snug it up good. You don't have to tighten the heck out of it. Okay, now we make sure our float pin needle is centered, and we'll put our bowl back on, and now we've got these new and improved screws. And lots of times I'll use this thing, but today for the sake of speed I'm going to use a screwdriver handled hex driver, 3mm. Now one thing, this carb has already been butchered by somebody. Ordinarily this adjustment screw is capped off, and from the factory, wow, it's backed out about a mile. From the factory there's an aluminum, you can see a little ledge in there where aluminum plug is pressed in against, and you have to drill a hole in that, screw a sheet metal screw in that, grab it with a pair of pliers and pull out the plug or cap. And then you screw this in until it's touching lightly. You don't have to tighten the heck out of it, just screw it in until it's touching, and then back it out about 2 turns. There's detailed instructions, again, in the information I send you, PDF. So now let's turn it over, go for the top. Okay, so now we got our diaphragm cover off, we got our spring, got our spring seat, we got our diaphragm assembly, and we got our stock needle. Now we'll talk about this a little bit. You can see that the needle is pretty straight for quite a while. Down here it's got a little taper, and then all of a sudden it tapers a lot down here. So what happens is, you're usually, with a stock bike, unless you're at high altitude, you're lean, 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 and all of a sudden you go way rich. And so that's why this needle, you can see the taper is a lot more consistent. This is from a KLX 650R that used the same carburetor as the KLR 650. And another thing on this needle, sometimes people call me and they want help with their needle, and they are sure that they have a KLX, but it's not. And the way you can tell, the KLX needle has this straight portion above the top groove, and the Dynojet needle is cut off right about there. It has just about the thickness of one groove above the top one. And when we send this to you, we send it set up for a stock bike, which is the most common, with the groove in the second, or the clip in the second groove. If you have an aftermarket muffler, you'll want to put it in the third groove and put a shim underneath it, and use a 142 main for all of those. If you have a really opened up airbox and a super wide open muffler and maybe some other modifications, then you'll want to go to a 145 main instead of a 142. Again, all that's in the instructions. So now we're going to drop this. Actually, first we'll put this on here, and we will If it was appropriate for your bike, we'd put one of the thin stainless washers here underneath this and drop this down in the slide. Okay, now this will only fit one way. You can see that the slots are offset from the center. So see, it doesn't go in like that, but it will go in if we turn it around 180 degrees. And you want to hold it straight up and down so the needle will go down in. Again, see the tube in there that we made sure we didn't get lost. Now, the trick, the important part now, is to make sure there's a lip on this diaphragm, and you can see the groove here obviously, and the two need to meet. So if it doesn't sit in there well, the trick is to put some grease in there and tack it in the groove with some grease. If you have really good touch, and you've done this several times, you can get by almost all the time without the grease. So then your diaphragm, your spring seat goes in there, and then your spring and your diaphragm cover. And what I do is I feel and make sure that this fits down in there nice and flat. You can tell it doesn't rock. It's nice and flat all over. And we'll put our 4 screws in here. Okay, now you're basically ready to install. Now there's a couple more things we're going to talk about. The Gen 2 bikes have a T right here. That's an extra vacuum port for the air injection system that pumps air into the exhaust port. So that's, if your carb looks different, has that T, that's why. You can cap it off if you're not using it with a vacuum cap. And then when you're working on the carb, taking it on and off the bike, you want to be sure that you don't break this or this. This gets broken the most. This is your vent line. This is your fuel line. Don't mix them up. If you put fuel in here and the vent right here, the bike won't run right, won't run at all. People get frustrated when that happens, but it's their own fault. And then also right here, this is where your choke nut screws in. The end of the choke cable or enricher cable screws in right here. And that gets broken a lot also. It's just because you got to really focus and not think about anything else when you're screwing that in. Okay? So there's your carb, how to change the parts. We appreciate all your business. Thanks, Thumper Bob, for helping me. You guys ride safe. Take care.